Oh, hello. My name is Professor John O'Bear, and I want to welcome you to Physical Geography, Geography 300 at American River College for the fall 2026 semester. I'm super excited to have you. I want to be clear that this is a 100% online class and that it is completely asynchronous. We do not have regularly scheduled meetings over Zoom, although you can meet with me if you arrange that. Um, and so I'm excited to have you with me. I'm excited to have you to be part of this whole thing. If there's anything you should know about me, it's that I love my job, I love teaching, and I want you to succeed. Absolutely. Now, one of the things that's going to happen during this video, I'm going to make it as quick as I can, is I'm going to give you a 5-letter code that you are going to need to keep track of. And you need to carefully watch this orientation video all the way through. And at the end, you will have all 5 letters, all capital. Um, and you can input that so you can continue with the orientation. So I'm going to give you the first letter of the code. It is the letter H, as in hello. Hello, everyone. I'm happy for you to be here. The letter H, as in hello. Okay, well, we're going to jump right in. One of my main things that I want you guys to understand and that will help you be successful is if you are absolutely sure to read the syllabus and keep it as a reference. You're all adults. I'm sure you can read this and keep an eye on it. And so I'm not going to sit here and read the whole thing for you, but I do want to highlight some important things. So you can most certainly find me or contact me. Here is all sorts of means by which you can do that. Email is absolutely best, but you can meet me in my office. It explains it here. Actually, it's a classroom at American River. Or on Zoom. Any of you being this an online asynchronous class will just want to find me on Zoom. And if these times don't work, please let me know some times that do. Okay, and so I'm gonna expect that you read all this carefully. What's recommended? It explains it here. What are the required resources? Right here. There's information on the textbook. And let's be clear: is it can be a hardback, it can be loose leaf, it can be digital, it can be rented, it can be bought, it can be checked out of the library for 2 hours at a time. It can be also an old edition of the textbook. The 9th edition is the current one. It can be an old edition. I'm really not picky, but you should have a copy of the book as a reference somehow. Okay. And then all of these other things are required. I'm going to let you read it. You should not be trying to take this class on a phone. Okay. You really need to have some bigger screen and something you can work with because we look at maps and we look at images. So I am strongly advising you against doing all your work on a smartphone, an iPhone, or something like that. What is expected for you to learn? Here's a statement of exactly what you should learn right here, assuming you put in the effort. What does the class consist of in terms of activities? It's explained right there. There are some exams, there's a bunch of smaller quizzes, and I'll show you where these are on Canvas. And then I don't want there to be any surprise. I don't want there to be any challenge about your final grade. I really want you to know what you're getting into. There is a succinct statement of the grade breakdown. So there's 500 points in the class. I am unlikely to change that. 450 out of 500 would get you an A. 400 out of 500 would get you a B because that's 80% or better. I absolutely want everybody to at least get 350. That is my target for the entire class. Of course, I want you to get a B if you want a B or an A if you want an A, but 350 will get you a solid passing respectable grade of a C in this class, 350 or better. So keep that in mind. Now, there is a late policy, which has a few penalty points here and there. And if it's just a few penalty points, that is the difference to get you to 350. But it's keeping you from getting to 350, I will erase late points so that you can get a C. I will not erase late points so that you can get a B or so that you can get an A. You need to earn that yourself. Also, let me be clear, is I have 4 homeworks that are required for this class. And if any one of them is skipped, or if you take a 0 for any reason, you will not be allowed to earn an A in my class. I will take A's and I will turn them into B's if you skip those homeworks. So I'm just letting you know that. I talked to my boss, and my boss said that that was fine. So the requirement for an A is not only 450 or better, but it is successfully completing all 4 homeworks. I'll show you where those are. So there's more information, grade notification, participation. If you just ghost me and you're not logging into Canvas, I reserve the right to just drop you from the class. I don't want to do that, but I reserve the right to do that. So please read this participation policy carefully. There is an extra credit policy. It's pretty generous. You should read it. I'm not going to discuss it now. I do have exams. There's 4 exams. They have very specific opening periods, closing periods. I'm pretty strict about exams. We'll talk more about them later. But if you just ghost me on an exam and don't do it, you risk taking a 0 on a 50-point exam. That's a lot. There is a missed exam policy. So you need to immediately take action. If I'm the one calling you about a missed exam, there's kind of a problem. It's your job to take note of what is happening in this class. I message you, I send out emails. You're the one who needs to make sure you're getting emails, notifications from me. So quizzes and discussions, a lot of the class is based on this. I give you lecture notes, I give you lecture videos. Again, I'll show you where that is. And then you have to take a quiz. And please note, here's the thing that gets a lot of people confused. For each individual quiz, you absolutely have to get 80% or better to unlock the discussion that follows. There are 20 of these during the whole class. Quiz, then discussion. Quiz, then discussion. 20 times. And here's the deal. The discussion will not open unless you get 80% or better on the quiz just before the discussion. You can take those quizzes multiple times. I strongly encourage you to take it multiple times, because what it does is it shows you new questions. It shows you, it shows you different questions. It scrambles questions. So please keep that in mind. So then the discussions, I am expecting original work, not generative AI, not grabbed from any sort of internet source. I'm expecting your own words. And I don't care if you have challenges writing. I do not care. I want to hear your thoughts coming out of your brain. And it's basically, what is your response to what you learned? There might be a question that you're asking. Give a detailed question. Explain why you're asking the question. Maybe you have a comment. You think something was cool or weird or offensive. Well, then tell me exactly why that is. Explain yourself. Or maybe you make a connection to something you've done in your life. Maybe you went camping. Maybe you traveled somewhere. Maybe you read a book. Maybe you saw something on the internet. Maybe you saw something on Netflix. It doesn't really matter, but this class covers many things that you might experience or hear about in your daily life. So I want to hear your response. I will, if I am given generative AI that is unethical, that is cheating, and unfortunately I'll have to deal with that accordingly. And it's become very common, and it's quite sad. The learning process involves you analyzing and thinking and questioning what you are exposed to, and then telling me a little bit about it. So please keep that in mind. Homework, here's a description of the homework. I'll show you where they are. There are these check-in quizzes. So right around each exam, I'll open up a check-in quiz, and it is mandatory. But if you do it, I give you 3 points. So it's mandatory, extra credit. If you just blow it off, you have a 2-point penalty. So it's really just answering a few questions about what's going on, how the class is going for you. That's all I want. There is unbelievably generous late assignment policy. Um, Incredibly generous. I basically accept most work in this class until the last day of class, and I've mentioned it numerous times, Wednesday, December 16th, 2026. Um, I don't want you to rely on this. I don't want you to take advantage of this. But if you skipped an assignment for whatever reason, there's a 5% deduction per day, but it caps at 30%. So I don't, on a 10-point assignment, you only lose 3 points. On a 7-point assignment, you lose less points. So it's really not a lot of points, but if you rely on it all the time, well, you're going to have a hard time passing the class. But you can turn things in brutally, unbelievably late in my class and still get nearly full credit often. So please keep that in mind. Just turn in your work, get it done, reach out to me if you're having problems. So please keep that in mind. This is pretty important. Let me give you the second letter in the 5-digit code, and that is the letter L. Um, Lucky. You are lucky to be here, and I am lucky to have you as a student. The letter L, lucky. So let me cross that out. And then lots of fine print, lots of stuff that's expected of you. So please read all that. Cheating plagiarism, please note again, there's a small comment about AI generated work. And then I will give you a more detailed policy once the class starts. Again, please read all the fine print. If you are interested in geography, if you think you might rely on me for a letter of recommendation, I am happy to help. I am really interested in supporting my students. I will tell you one of the first things I do if somebody asks me for a letter of recommendation is I go in and I look at how engaged they were, how involved they were. I look back at our email correspondence. Did you express interest? If you didn't get the best grade, that's really secondary. I look to see if you were engaged and you tried and you were doing original work. So I love to help my students, and I've sent them all over the country for jobs and graduate school and different things. So please keep that in mind. And then finally, there's this lengthy schedule. This is the meat of the class. You should print this page and post it somewhere, keep it somewhere so that you can see it. Everything I've done on Canvas is basically built from this schedule, incredibly detailed schedule. I would take a very close look at it. The readings can be done really honestly whenever. By the way, if you get the 8th edition or the 7th edition, Canvas has the readings. I'm not going to police you. I'm not going to come to your house and see if you have the book and see if you're reading the book. That's on you. Again, this is not a self-paced class. I set the pace and assign assignments. You set your own schedule. You can work in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day. Pretty much what I do is I give you an entire week and I just set due dates late on a Sunday. People say, wait a minute, you make stuff due on a Sunday. You don't have to work on a Sunday, work during the week. Okay, you do not have to work on Sundays, but I need there to be a pace. What if it's Sunday and you haven't done it and you just can't do it and you decide I'll do it tomorrow? Well, then that's fine. You have an automatic extension, and that's a very small penalty usually. So keep that in mind. I throw in a few extra things. There's map quiz. There's a couple of homeworks. They're all explained here. When are the exams? When do they open? When do they close? It is explained in absolute clear detail here. And when we get to the exams themselves, I will give you much more information. But they're based on mostly these quizzes that I ask you to do. So I set my students up for success to the greatest possible degree that I can. So again, I accept things up to this magic date, Wednesday, December 16th at 11:59 p.m. Again, please don't take advantage of me. Please don't go out of your way to turn in a bunch of stuff late. I don't see that as virtuous. I don't see that as really a good professional practice. But again, everybody needs a break sometimes. I'm trying to help my students out. That's why I do that. Yeah, so you should especially print a copy of this last page. I advise you to do that. I am going to give you the third letter in the five-letter code. Again, these are all uppercase. The third letter is the letter Z, as in zoo. Z as in zoo. There are lots of animals in the zoo. Okay. Again, you should be writing these down. And now I'm going to jump over to where most of our class lives and exists, and that is Canvas. Hopefully, most people are familiar with Canvas. Um, uh, I've already provided you a link on how to access Canvas via email. If you're looking at this very video right here, this is the link that took you to this orientation. And let me just say a couple things. There's information about how to get a hold of me. There's my biography here somewhere. You can look me up. I have a footprint on the interwebs and on social media. I don't really care that you look at that stuff, but if you're curious, it's there. What I care about is your efforts in this class. So I look forward to your hard work. Again, here are ways to get a hold of me. At the bottom, this is the same information as before. I do have office hours potentially in person, but also over Zoom. And I am at those office hours every single week. If I say Tuesdays, Thursdays at 10 a.m., I'm there. You don't have to arrange it with me. You don't have to make a special appointment during my published student hours. I am there unless I send out some highly specific adjustment to the schedule for that week. But that's where I am. So students, nobody has an excuse to not be clear of how to get a hold of me. And there's a little extra credit built in if you decide to come meet with me. And you don't have to have any agenda whatsoever. You can just show up and I'll ask you a few questions because I'm always curious about my students. So a couple quick things. Over on the side is where you access the work. I try to put a link up near the top explaining what is assigned that week and what is due that week. But barring anything else, I ask my students to go to modules. Everything lives under modules. Your work for this class lives in modules. So over on this page, you can see those are modules right there. I disable access to certain things that other teachers leave enabled. So there is a link to assignments that many of you might see on Canvas. I disable it. I don't want you to go to assignments. I want you to go to modules. There's a link to discussions. I don't want you to go straight to the discussion. I want you to go to modules. Quizzes. I don't want you to go straight to the quizzes. I want you to go to modules. So you can see a pattern here, hopefully. So let's do that. I'm going to click on modules. Barring anything else, you don't know what's due that week. I mean, I've given you a syllabus. Remember, I have built all the due dates out of the due dates that are right here. They show up right here on Canvas. This happens to be the orientation that you're working on right now. If it says FYI, those are just informational. So for the first few weeks, I'll leave these informational folders up there. And then you'll see a little tiny liner that looks like this. It says the modules found below this line are now assigned and due. So usually every Monday morning, I update that. And so if you scroll down and you see this and this, then you know that the work in between is what's due. What if you skipped something? Well, I just leave it where it is and you have to find it. But I give highlights of what is assigned and due during any given week. Again, where do I get those due dates? It's all like right here. Okay. So keep a close eye on that. Now, having said that, I'm just going to open up this one. It doesn't really matter which one I open up, but the first week is the introduction module. Let me open up this one and let me be clear about how to get through one of my instructional modules. If it has this format, Unit 1, Mod 2, or maybe it's Unit 3, Mod 5, Unit 4, Mod 4. If it has that format, your job this confuses a lot of people. Your job is to go through every single item in order. Now, I can't prove how long you have looked at the lecture notes or the videos, but I do know what you've accessed and what you haven't. It is set up to require that you go through in order. So the following thing doesn't unlock until you've at least looked at the previous thing. So always there's lecture notes in two different formats. And then sometimes I throw in, this is an extra file that I want you to look at. And then there's a page of video lectures. That's the meat of the class. I try to make them fairly short. You know, they're not like 2-minute TikTok videos. I mean, come on, this is college. They're longer than that. But you can see they're all on YouTube. You can speed them up if you want on YouTube. You can watch me in time and a half or double time. I don't care. I'm not offended. But you need to go through that. That's the class right there. That's the video lectures. And if you pay attention, at some point you're going to get information about picking up a physical printed paper packet of notes. You can do that at American River College, or you can literally print them right off of Canvas. But if you have paper printed notes in front of you and you're watching the videos at the same time, it is a really excellent way to follow along. So I can't stress enough how wise it would be for you to get the printed paper notes and sit and watch these YouTube videos at the same time as you're holding the notes. Okay, so there's video lectures. Here, we're right here. So then always following video lectures are video extras. And that's just a page of various, oftentimes videos, but sometimes other files that I don't absolutely demand that you watch, but they provide excellent backup resources. So you might find some fascinating stuff. I have snuck in there a bunch of fascinating stuff. At least I think it's fascinating. So if you're yeah, I would expect and hope that as a college student, you start to open your mind up and start to be curious about the world. I have dropped a lot of fascinating nuggets and Easter eggs inside those video extras. So, by the way, including my appearance on a podcast that has like 20 million listeners a month. What podcast? Well, I don't know. You're going to have to go find out. I dropped it in one of the video extras for one of the modules somewhere during the course of this class. Then there's a quiz. Okay. And again, the quizzes are usually 5 questions or 10 questions, but each time you take the quiz, it gives you new questions. It recycles old questions. It reformulates the questions. So it trains your brain. I would take those quizzes multiple times if I were you. Okay. And remember, you have to get 80% or better. That's 4 out of 5 points. It says right there in order to unlock the discussion. So there's the discussion. Every one of those modules ends with a discussion. And in the beginning, I'm going to give you detailed feedback. What I would do if I were you is as you are watching the video lectures or reading the notes, I would open up a separate file and take some notes. What is weird to you? What is striking to you? What questions come to your mind? What connections are you making to that thing that you saw on Netflix, or to that camping trip that you once had, or to that weird nephew that you had? It could be anything, okay? I want you to put your own imprint on. Basically, I want to hear your reaction to what you're learning. I want you to process it, think about it, and then react to it in the context of these discussions. Says right here, please note that simply restating a few things you learned is not acceptable. If I read a discussion and it says, what I learned is, then I immediately have red flags exploding in my head. I don't want to hear what you learned. I want to hear what your reaction is to what you learned. You also, by the way, have to then comment on another student's post. Be respectful. It doesn't have to be super, super lengthy, but it has to be a couple of adult college sentences in response to what that person said. So it will not tell you what everybody else said until you input what you said. That's a setting I used in the discussions. So you have to make your discussion post, then you can look at everybody else, then you comment on somebody else. So please, please keep that in mind. Ask me for advice if you're getting low scores on these discussions. Ask me for advice. Um, yeah, and so that is how one of those instructional modules works. You go through every single thing in order, and then when you get down to the quiz, you have to get 80% or better. That's 4 out of 5 questions right, or that's 8 out of 10 questions right. And then it will unlock the final discussion. So please keep that in mind. If you have any questions, I need to know. I'm going to give you the second to last, the fourth letter in your code. And that is the letter Y. Yes, you are an excellent student. Yes, I am glad to have you as a student. Yes, you are going to succeed if you do what I'm asking. So the letter Y is the fourth code letter. Remember, all uppercase. Okay, I'm sure I'm forgetting some things, but let me go quickly here. Uh, Please notice sometimes I open things early. So there is a map quiz that's coming down the pipe. There is a homework that's coming down the pipe. I've already opened those, so you can get started on those. There's really no excuse for waiting till the last second, especially when I open stuff early. At the end of most weeks, I will open up the new stuff early for you. So please keep in mind. So I've already opened, again, as I said, this map quiz, this homework. And if you go way down, you can't see what I'm showing you, but if you go to the bottom of your page, I've opened up this thing called Student's Choice. These are extra credits. You may very well want to do extra credit. You turn in one of them here, turn in another here, and this is for you to choose. I want you to follow your personal interests or what is maybe convenient for you. So there's an online article summary, a video summary. Maybe there's a guest speaker. I would have to tell you if that's going to happen. But here's one where if you want to do this, I mean, basically, I want you to start caring about the class now and taking action now and getting excited about the class now, not in December. One of the things you need to do now, if you want a little bit of this extra credit, is this thing called the Science Success Center. It's a little separate class. I don't teach it. I don't grade it. I'm not in charge of it. But if you take that class, it meets 6 times for a half hour each, tiny bit of homework. It's a pretty small class. If you take that class and finish and earn credit, they tell me, and I go in and I give you credit for both of those homeworks automatically. So that's a pretty good deal. But they fill up, their slots fill up. So if you want to do it, I would contact them as soon as possible during the first week of class to arrange a time. They do it in person. They also do it over Zoom. So, if you want to do it, I would jump in. But there's all kinds of stuff. So really, a lot of amazing opportunities here, and that's it for that. So I'm sure there is something that I wanted to say that I've forgotten. I'm looking here at my notes. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that for you to be successful, you need to be getting announcements that I send out, feedback that I send out. So if I were you, I would be very careful about making sure emails get read or they get bounced to accounts that you're going to read. Go into the settings, go into your account settings and look at the notifications. If you turn off all the notifications and you don't know when I've graded something or I've made a comment or I've said, something about your work, like I'm not going to grade this until you clarify something or other, and you never read that, then there's kind of a problem. So please keep that in mind. Yeah, I think that's everything. Anybody who ever wants can always contact me. the worst thing about online classes is I don't really get to meet and connect with students like I normally would like to. So I ask that you step up and reach out. This is what successful students and successful people do is they connect, they network, they reach out, they ask questions. Do not be afraid to do this. So um, the absolute last letter in the code for your 5-letter code, remember these are all uppercase, is the letter N, as in no. No, you don't have to worry about this class. No, it's not going to go terribly. The letter N for no. Don't worry, just trust yourself, and you'll do well. So I wish you the absolute best of luck in this class. And again, please reach out if you have any questions. All right.